Cublets, welcome back to another Bear With me, BearElliott. There are a lot of classic comic graphic novels that you just identify with when you're a geek. One of those has recently been released on Blu-ray, but last night they had a very special event by Fathom that they released in theaters for a very, very limited running, like two. Some cities I hear got two days of it. We only got 1 day of it. What am I talking about? It's Batman the Killing Joke. Now, The Killing Joke is an amazing graphic novel that was released in the 80s. And it redefined a classic DC character. And basically, it's what we have for the Joker today. Batman the Killing Joke was intense as a graphic novel. And as a geek, I really, really latched onto this because it had one of my other favorite characters, Batgirl. This also made a huge change in the history and affects that particular character to this day. Now, what is The Killing Joke? The Killing Joke was created by Alan Moore. Now, this leads us into a very dark and grimy and adult Gotham. That was one of the things where Batman, it seemed like when The Killing Joke came out, there was a shift in the Batman. We left the almost humorous Batman and Joker of the 60s and the 70s, and he was replaced with what we have to this day. A lot of times when it comes to the performance of the Joker, these actors go back to The Killing Joke and make reference to it. And this is where we have the Joker go from the clown prince of crime to being a serial killer. The Joker has gone through a lot of manifestations since his introduction. In fact, the Joker himself was only going to be a one-off character, and they were going to kill him off in the first issue that he was introduced. But they noticed, those fine folks at the early days of DC, that this Joker guy sure has something going for him, and let's not kill him off. So they changed one panel. Now, that one panel was changed from him being dead to him standing behind bars. And the Joker himself has gone through a lot of manifestations. And that's the thing where the Joker kind of excels at. And his history has been up for debate. Now, The Killing Joke deals a lot with what made the Joker. And he makes an iconic statement in this particular graphic novel and in this movie that he doesn't really remember his actual history, and he remembers it differently every time. That's the cool thing about the Joker, because you never know what you're going to get, and he's constantly reinventing himself. Now, The Killing Joke, this particular movie, is slightly different from the graphic novel. I do suggest that you read the graphic novel, and I'll get into why you need to read the graphic novel, because there's certain elements in this movie that are taken from it, but they've taken a lot of liberties when it comes to like the relationship between Batman and Batgirl. They've always had a partnership, and she's looked at him as a surrogate father and a trainer, and I've never in my history of reading these two characters thought of them as lovers. Now, this movie actually portrays them as actual lovers and having a sexual encounter that I need to go back, but I don't remember reading that in the comic or in the graphic novel. I don't ever remember them having an actual sexual relationship. And she's always been with Robin, or Nightwing. That's where her true love interest is. And for this to be shifted to the Batman character was a little strange. And do note that this movie is an R and is not really for small children. In this movie, I thought it was kind of weird that the movie starts and this guy comes in with his very small children. I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to work, because we're going to be dealing with some very serious topics here. But the Batgirl herself, it starts out the movie, you can almost look at The Killing Joke as like three separate movies in itself. You have the Batgirl segment, you have the Batman segment, which Batman almost plays like a secondary character in his own titled pretty much. I mean, it's all about Batgirl and Joker. Then you have the Batman and the Joker relationship, and the Joker himself comes into this movie not even at the beginning. He comes in halfway through. So the Batgirl storyline is interesting because she's been active for about 3 years, and she's loving her life. She hasn't really fully understood that there's an edge that she will approach someday that's going to change the course of her being a crime fighter and being lighthearted to her realizing that this is a deep, dark world that she lives in. Now, the Batman himself, he pops up now and then, but he's not really a core figure. Like I said, he's a side character in this. Now, the Joker. The Joker is... Okay, the Joker is portrayed by Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, they are the two iconic voices. Well, of course, I mean, Mark Hamill's iconic. But when it comes to the portrayal of Batman and Joker, everyone goes back to the Batman the Animated Series and these two voice actors because they really are the ones that a lot of kids grew up with. So when they thought about doing The Killing Joke, they went back to these actors and said, we want to bring you back for this. And Mark Hamill's Joker is just a thing of beauty in this movie. It's incredible. The laugh, his illustration and his mannerisms when it comes to using his vocal talents to create this animated character is just amazing. So the Joker. In this The Killing Joke, we get his backstory, or possible backstory, his ties to the Red Hood, and also the process of what happened to make him the Joker. He comes back, and basically, I'm just going to put it out there, this is a spoiler, if you've read this comic, you know, he shoots Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. Shoots her in a manner through her stomach that he destroys her spine, which causes Batgirl to become paralyzed. Now, this changes the whole storyline and the timeline for the Batgirl character. In comics, Batgirl becomes Oracle because she can no longer perform as Batgirl out on the streets. So she becomes the eyes and the internet and the information source and hub for all of the DC universe. The Oracle is used many, many times in different outlets for the comic books. She worked with the Justice League. She worked with the Birds of Prey. She works with Batman. She is the center hub of all the information in the DC universe. So it really took the Batgirl character and made her a full adult. She was no longer a girl. She was a woman of her own creation. And the Batgirl character goes on, and that's a whole other thing. But Joker himself is dark. He is sinister. I mean, you see him undressing Batgirl and taking photos of her. It's almost like hinted that he molested her when she was incapacitated and shot in this manner. And then he takes these photos, and then his whole entire thing is he wants to send Jim Gordon over the edge. And he wants to send him into the land of craziness. So he kidnaps Jim Gordon and puts him through hell. The graphic novel itself was a lot more graphic. This was not as much. I think they played that line of how dark can we go very, very well. Did they succeed? I don't know. I really wish it would have went full force into the graphic darkness. There is one element that I did not enjoy. And Roger went with me to go see this, and he likes animated movies, but he didn't really get into this one. And there's a musical scene, which in the comic is almost like, when I read it, I didn't ever think of it as a musical, that the Joker was actually singing to Jim Gordon. I thought of it as more of him just taunting him with almost like a rhyme or a verse or that kind of thing. Well, they actually do it in a full Broadway musical version, and it was okay, but it kind of took me out of the seriousness of it. It became too humorous. I think they could have shortened that or changed it into a different format. I would have gotten it a lot more. But in the end, where does the Killing Joke come from? That is when Batman and Joker finally confront each other, because Batman basically said, it's going to come down to me killing you or you killing me. One of us is going to end up dead. And he has this almost like heart-to-heart, Batman and Joker. It's like, how's this going to end? And it ends on a joke. Now, this is where I suggest that you read the graphic novel before actually seeing Batman the Killing Joke, because it literally ends on a joke with Batman laughing. Now, takes us outside of that character's history and his darkness, and it's always been speculated that there is a frame in the graphic novel with Batman with his hands on the Joker's shoulders. A lot of people speculate that after he laughed, he kills the Joker, that he snaps his neck. Now, there's never been actually any, full on that, yes, Batman killed the Joker, but it's hinted at, but that's how it ends. It ends with them laughing together of ha 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 ha. And it's very weird. It's a very weird ending. And when it just cut to black, there were several people going, what just happened? I don't understand. They were literally, it was kind of humorous because they obviously weren't comic book fans, or they may have not have read the Batman history and did not know how this particular graphic novel ended, but they were visibly angry about it. And they're like, this is bullshit. I can't believe this. So yeah, I would suggest going to read the graphic novel before you go and rent or buy, or it's not in theaters any longer because it was only for one night or 2 nights. And before you see it, go and read the graphic novel so you fully understand what's going on. The great thing about the Fathom event was that we got a little segment. I'm sure it's going to be on the Blu-ray, but a little segment about Mark Hamill and his creation of the Joker and what went into that and his history. We didn't get one for Kevin Conroy, which I really wish we had. And at the end of it, there was a long segment about the music behind it. That was kind of interesting as well. So, Batman the Killing Joke is out on Blu-ray and DVD. If not now, it's soon. But I saw it yesterday, and I wanted to share this with you because I think it's something that if you're a Batman geek like I am, look, I got my Batman, Robin, and Joker shirt. I love this shirt. But if you're a fan of these particular genres, I would suggest going to see it. Now, this did fall in the year 2016, and it was in theaters, so I am counting it in the 52 movies that I'm seeing this year. So, out of my movies, I always give a paw review out of 5 paws. This is a solid 3.5. I think it suffered from, they didn't push it all the way as close to the edge as I would have liked. The voice acting is phenomenal. You can't get better than the actors that we have in those particular iconic characters. I just wish it would have been just slightly darker, especially for an R rating. It didn't feel like an R rating. It felt like a PG-13. I think they could have taken it darker. So, hey, check this out. Batman the Killing Joke. It's definitely, if you're a geek, go see it. So until next time, have yourself a wonderful day. Bye, Cublets!
I could go out in the darkness, see you calling my name. I hear you shouting, hear you calling, but it's not the same. Every word that you are throwing right into my back doesn't matter to me, cause I'm keeping my track. Let me go, let me go.